Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Quarantine Talk. Went out for a drive tonight because I figured I could clear my head a little bit. Not having the best week, honestly. It's been a lot of rough stuff lately. Had some family members in the hospital, and I can't go see them because the hospital is locked down because of the virus and everything. And got my allergies flaring up, and now my cat is on her period and is harassing all the boy cats in the neighborhood and neighbors complaining about the weird noises. So I just needed to go out for a little break. So here we are, next to the forest somewhere. And I thought we could do a little Q&A video because it's been a while since we did one, and I've accumulated some questions since from random comments. So without further ado, let's just start. So here is one from Kedon Seaman. Hello, friend. Greetings from Finland. Found your channel by accident after watching your quarantine video on Terry. I envy where you are right now. It must be really pleasurable to make progress at this stage after having arguably done the hardest part of making the system stable and running. Best of luck. Well, hello, friend, to you too. It's indeed pretty nice to be at this stage, but I don't feel super different about the system now compared to when it was just a few months old, because I am always working on something, and I'm so deep in what I'm doing at the moment that I sort of struggle to see the big picture. So that's why it's been really helpful for me to make these monthly roundup videos where I sort of go through what happened in the last month and sort of regain that perspective of the what's going on with the system at a high level. But it is pretty nice, I guess. Like if I stop and reflect, I'm happy with how development of Serenity is going, and it's a project that I'm really proud of, and I'm really proud of the people who are helping out on it, and they're doing such good work. And I feel like everybody's trying their best, which is really the most that you could ever hope for. So that's really awesome. But yeah, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy what we do here. It's pretty eclectic, but right now it's pretty browser heavy, but who knows what comes next. Anyway, then we got a question from the JJ 100 who says, how much reading do you do on a topic before you start coding? For example, do you read how other operating systems or programs handle a situation before implementing it yourself? So that's a really good question, and something I get asked fairly often, actually. And the answer is that I try to do zero reading about how things have been done before. It's something I feel kind of strongly about, for me personally at least, that I want to go through something and work through it myself from like first principles before studying how other people have done it. And I feel like that just makes me that much more comfortable with the problem space than if I had gone in with the knowledge of how it was already implemented somewhere. So obviously sometimes that's not avoidable. Like now that I'm working on the browser in Serenity, for example, obviously I have a lot of random knowledge from spending like 7-8 years or maybe more on WebKit in the past, and it's impossible not to draw from that, obviously. But at the same time, I do try to go in blind as much as I can. So for an example of that is today I just rewrote or re-architected the CSS layout algorithm in libweb because I've been working with layout for a while now and learning more and more about it as I go. And it got to the point where I started to develop sort of a better picture of how I wanted the algorithms to be structured. So more specifically, it used to be that layout boxes would figure out their own position in the page, and sort of first they would compute their width, and then they would compute their position, and then their height. And before it would compute the height, it would recurse through all of its children and compute their height, and then the height of the parent would be sometimes be the total height of all the children, and things like that. And I figured out that having boxes compute their own position is just nightmarishly confusing. And it's so much simpler if you just move positioning to the containing block. So today I reorganized everything so that now the containing block is responsible for positioning all of the descendant boxes that have it as their containing block. And this sort of stuff, like if I had just gone in sort of replicating some existing web engine behavior here, then I wouldn't have figured this thing out the hard way, and I wouldn't have like a strong enough understanding to feel like, okay, so this is clearly how it should be done because of these trade-offs and so on. And I really think that the only way you can actually build that strong understanding is by doing it the hard way, like actually butting your head against the wall, getting a little hurt, and then learning like what's the good way of doing something. At least that's what works for me. Now, I'm not saying that is how everybody has to do these things, but I find that the knowledge that I've built in my life in this way is by far the strongest knowledge that I have. Stuff that I picked up because somebody told me, like, oh, this is a good way of doing that, that's much less rigid, much less reliable knowledge to me. So to answer your question, I try to read nothing before I get started. Know as little as possible about the problem space so that I can build my own native understanding, at least like a first pass of it, and then I can, like, once I've built like some prototype of something, then I can go and look at how other people have done it, because then it will be so much easier to understand how they work, because now I have a frame of reference, if that makes sense. And I guess I recommend everyone to try approaching something this way. I know it's a lot more work than just looking up how you should do something, but it's also a lot more rewarding and more sticky. Okay, so next question is from Salvador Dali, who says, I am at a very bad place in my life right now, and I've followed you for a while now to know enough about your story. What motivated you to get back up on your feet and take care of yourself? So that's a heavy question, man. So I have answered this comment in text already, so let me just read that first. I wrote that I had a breakdown from keeping too many secrets and telling lies all the time. It went too far and I couldn't live with myself anymore. So I came clean about everything, which caused a chaos that took months to clean up. But it was also very worth it. Whatever your mess is, there's always someone who had the same kind of mess as you do. So find them and they can help you with your mess. I think that's such an important lesson I've learned from going through drug addiction recovery, was that just how many people there are who've had the exact same stupid problems that I've had, and they wanted nothing more than just to help me. And I've talked about this before, but it is so damn important for people to realize this, that whatever your problem is, somebody else had that problem too. Somebody's having it right now. Very, very few problems are unique. And even if your problem is truly unique, then you can probably find someone else who has a truly unique problem, and you have that in common. So I definitely recommend, whatever your issue is, to just find someone else who's in the same position, or who has been in that position, and just see what happens if you just talk to them, because it's just, problems are best solved together, I think. Especially these problems of the soul. It's very hard to cleanse your soul by yourself. And I hope all the best for you, Salvador Dali. Really. And I think you're going to be okay. All right. So next we have Complex Engine, who says, "Hey, great dedication. Where should I start? Because your first video in the playlist does not start from scratch." That's true. My playlists don't start from scratch, really. I guess Hack Studio was the only thing where I really started from scratch and trying to show as much as possible of it. And I do need to get back to working on that a little bit. It's just that I've been so excited about working on the browser stuff lately that that's a lot of the other parts of the system have sort of become secondary. But or not secondary, I shouldn't say, but that they're like I keep postponing working on them because I have some browser thing I want to do. But eventually, obviously, it will get to a point where attention shifts for whatever reason, like it has done in the past. So there's not really anywhere to start. This is something people have asked me sometimes, like, how should I engage with your videos? Like, where should I start? And I don't really know what a good answer is. It seems like people watch the videos in different ways. Some people, I know some people are going through like the back catalog and looking at the old videos, and some people just check out the newest stuff. I guess I would recommend just look at the titles and see if any topic sounds interesting and start there. Really, the videos they're not meant to be in any way like tutorials or like a complete documentation of how every line of code was written. They're more like diary entries, sort of just these unedited programming sessions from what I was doing that day. And I think the format is really nice so far, and I've been getting some really great response on these videos that I've been making, so I'm definitely going to keep doing it this way because this is the way that's fun for me anyway. And this is the type of content that I like to watch, so just start anywhere that sounds interesting, I guess. All right. Somebody's running here or jogging by. Okay, so then somebody says, or Gurish says, "Thanks for the debugging session. This is out of curiosity from seeing you grep for function names. What is your opinion on using Cscope or other code-based indexing software?" So I guess this was in reference to me grepping around while working on some Vim port issue. I was just grepping through the Vim sources, and I have no real opinion on Cscope. Probably it's fine. I've used it like years ago, but I just don't bother setting anything up because when I get into something like poking around with the Vim port or something like that, I feel like I'm going to be out of here in a couple of minutes anyway. Like, what's the point of setting this up? Maybe I should think differently about that. It's like I don't know what that is. It's like this. I'm trying to avoid sinking cost because I want to prevent myself from getting into the sunk cost situation, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe it's laziness. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to set up Cscope. Maybe that's the issue. I don't remember how to do it, so that's probably why. I'm lazy and I don't feel like learning how to do it. If I had to spend more than like half an hour working on something, or maybe more than an hour, I would probably do something like maybe import it into QCreator. Anyway, and then Soft Willow asks or says, "I find these short, more tightly focused videos much easier to digest. It might be due to my being an attention-addled Zoomer. It might be indeed, my Zoomer friend." So I guess this was on a short video, obviously, based on what he's saying. I know that some people like these shorter videos, but And I like making them sometimes too. It's just that the reality is that, like, in my opinion, like work that's significant and interesting tends to take more than 20 minutes most of the time. And I wish I could go a little bit faster maybe sometimes, but at the same time, I'm generally going as fast as my brain can. So it's I don't feel like held back by my keyboard or anything like that. Like some people say that they feel held back by their ability to type. I feel like in my case, I type about as fast as I think most of the time, so it works out pretty well. Now, um, shorter videos are fine. They're cool. Um, and I wish I ended up making more of them, but I try to always pick things to work on that are interesting and have some significance to the system improving, right? So there hasn't been a lot of short videos lately. Maybe if I think about it differently, it would turn into short videos sometimes. Because one thing is that I haven't done a lot of like polish work lately, and that's something where short videos would sort of naturally occur, right? Like if I would sit down and spend some time polishing this or that, like polishing APIs or UIs or whatever. Maybe that's an area where I should try to make some videos. I don't know. But it is interesting to hear from somebody who likes the shorter videos because I definitely I hear from both groups, so it's nice to know that there's people in Team Short. Okay, and then this is the last question I have. So Stu Axo says the pixel art emoji support looks very cool. It's like looking at an alternate past, though really maybe this is a glimpse of an alternate future. So that's in reference to the emoji support. Um, I'm really happy with how Serenity is just sort of growing up to be this alternate timeline operating system almost. It really is developing into that feeling for me. And it's something that I knew I wanted to go for since the beginning, but it's 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 lately that that I've been seeing like current day websites in the browser in Serenity rendered in the system fonts and everything is kind of like rectangular, and the layout of pages is like obviously not correct often yet, but the way that it looks, it just it has this awesome feeling um, of alternate timeline. Like I think it was Conrad who originally described it as like the timeline where Microsoft switched to Unix in the 90s, and then things and then like Windows grew up as a Unix system instead, and then this is where we ended up, or something like that. And that's such an interesting way of thinking about it, because that's really the aesthetic, at least, that I'm going for most of the time. With obviously with like influences from other things than Windows, but there's clearly like a very strong Windows influence in the aesthetics of it all, like extremely strong. But I am really happy with the way it's turning out, and like stuff like the emojis being pixel art. I find that it's just so charming somehow. Like I went to some website in the browser today, and it had the heart emoji in the text, and just seeing the Serenity heart emoji in the text, it was so something just felt so right about it. I don't know. It's good stuff. Anyways, um, so those were some random questions that I had. So thanks everybody for providing random questions that I could answer, and I hope everybody's having a decent time. I feel like I drank too much tea today, so I don't feel right in my head. But I guess there are worse problems in life. But anyway, I'm gonna head home. So thanks for hanging out with me in the car, and I'll see you next time. Bye.